Welcome to the Community Eligibility Provision 201. With Community Eligibility Provision, student-level eligibility data is not available. This has an impact on other child nutrition programs and federal education programs. While these impacts need to be addressed, they should not prevent a school from participating in CEP. Before we start talking about how we use CEP data in other programs, we need to discuss grouping. In CEP, all schools in a district can be in one large group, or the schools can be subdivided into smaller groups to achieve the highest identified student percentage, or ISP, and claiming percentage possible. If a high ISP school is grouped with a low ISP school, both schools will get the CEP benefits of no applications, meals at no charge, and a possible increase in reimbursement. For other programs, each school must stand on their own. The claiming percentage for a group only applies to distributing the total lunch and breakfast counts into free and paid categories for reimbursement in those programs. When qualifying for other programs, such as the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program, Afterschool Snack Program, etc., where the percentage of free and reduced eligible students is needed, the CEP free claiming percentage by school is used. Let's look at an example. Here we have a group made up of Maple and Aspen schools. The group has a claiming percentage of 80.38. This will be used for calculating the lunch and breakfast program claim for reimbursement. Individually, Maple has a free claiming percentage of 108.77. This will be reported as 100% for the other child nutrition programs. Aspen, on the other hand, has a free claiming percentage of 47.34. This will be the percentage they use to evaluate if the site qualifies for other child nutrition programs. Now that we know how to work with grouping, let's discuss how CEP works with these other child nutrition programs. Special Milk Program, SMP, Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program, FFVP, and After-School Snacks. Here is a situation. A CEP school also operates the Special Milk Program for half-day kindergarten students who do not have access to the National School Lunch Program, NSLP, or the School Breakfast Program, SBP. In the past, they used applications to certify students for free milk. How should the school certify students for the SMP without household applications? CEP only applies to NSLP and SBP. CEP schools that also operate the Special Milk Program must process household applications to certify students for SMP benefits. Now let's move to the Fresh Fruits and Vegetables Program. Here is a situation. It is time to apply for the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program. Priority for this program is given to K-8 schools with a high percentage of free and reduced eligible students. How is this measure determined for CEP schools? Since the 1.6 multiplier is intended to provide an estimate of the total number of students eligible for free and reduced price meals in eligible schools, the product of the ISP multiplied by 1.6 will be used for the purpose of awarding FFVP funds. Schools and sponsors electing CEP for the entire sponsor, or as part of a group of schools electing CEP, the free claiming percentage based on the individual school ISP must be used for awarding FFVP funds. Let's move to after-school snacks. For after-school snacks, data from the previous October is typically used to establish area eligibility. Should sponsors and schools in the first year of the CEP cycle use data from the previous October, or the CEP claiming percentage, ISP times 1.6, to establish area eligibility? In the first year of a CEP cycle, participating sponsors and schools must use data from the previous October to determine area eligibility for individual schools. After the first year, CEP sponsors and schools must use the CEP claiming percentage, ISP times 1.6, to establish area eligibility. If the sponsor participates in CEP district-wide or schools are grouped, A school's area eligibility must be determined using the individual school's ISP, not the district-wide or group ISP. In the Child and Adult Care Food Program, CACFP, a school's area eligibility must be determined using the individual school's ISP, not the district-wide or group ISP, times the 1.6 to qualify a site for after-school, at-risk snack, and suppers, and tiering for family daycare home providers. A daycare center participating in CACFP must use confidential income statements to determine meal benefits. If a school district has shared household applications with the daycare center in the past, the daycare center will now have to do their own application certification. CEP claiming percentages may not be used by the daycare center for claiming meals. For both the Summer Food Service Program and Seamless Summer Option under the National School Lunch Program, area eligibility is determined by the CEP free claiming percentage for the individual school. This concludes CEP in other child nutrition programs. Let's move to other federal programs, Title I and E-rate. CEP will not decrease Title I funds to the school district. The dollars that come to the school district for Title I are based on the U.S. Census data. Once the funds are in a district, they are allocated to schools based on poverty measurement. The allowable poverty measures are the count of children in poverty, age 5 through 17, as counted in the most recent census, receiving free and reduced price lunches, in households receiving TANF benefits, eligible for medical benefits under Medicaid, or a composite of these measures. All schools in the district must evaluate for Title I funding in the same way. The allocation process is an annual activity. Data from the current year will be used to allocate next year's funds. In year 1 of CEP, all sources of eligibility will be used, allocations as usual. In year 2 through 4, identified student count data will need to be provided to Title I. For Title I purposes, each year you will need to provide the student count by identified student category. When determining school allocations for Title I, the goal is to keep allocation amounts stable with the move to CEP, and the rule is to use the same allocation method for all schools. There are two methods for school allocations: the 1.6 multiplier and the identified student subcategorized by school. These two methods use data common to all schools, CEP and non-CEP. Number crunching will be required as every district is different. This will be a team effort with your Title I coordinator. Let's look at each method in detail. When allocating using the multiplier 1.6 method, for CEP schools, the identified student count is multiplied by 1.6, while for non-CEP schools, the actual count of students approved for free and reduced price meals by all certification method is used. Please recall that the multiplier indicates that for every 10 identified students, there were 6 more students certified based on income application. If the NSLP allocation count exceeds the enrollment, then the enrollment count is used. For example, this happened with Oak School. Their identified student count times 1.6 equaled 680. The enrollment is 425. 425 is reported, giving Oak a percentage of 100% economically disadvantaged. If all schools in a district are CEP, using the identified student count times 1.6 is the easiest allocation method. One thing to be aware of: we have found that in middle and high schools, the use of the CEP multiplier 1.6 may cause the economically disadvantaged percentage to be higher than past actual free and reduced percentages. This may be an issue for Title I funding because it may create a percentage high enough to require that the school be funded for Title I when it has not been. The effect is less allocation for other schools. Due to the larger enrollment at middle and high schools, the fund shift may have a significant negative impact on the Title I programs in elementary schools. If this becomes the case in your district, don't stop. Another allocation method is open to you. Allocating by the identified student categories method uses only the data that all schools in the district have in common. In short, this means that students certified for meal benefits by application are excluded. This method takes advantage of the composite language in the Title I regulations. You will need to provide student count data in each of the identified student categories for all schools, CEP and non-CEP. Do you recall what the categories are? Direct certification extended, migrant, homeless and runaway, foster, Head Start, Even Start, preschool promise, SNAP letter, and administrative application. A handy tool for collecting this information is the CEP election form. When creating the Title I allocation formula, the Title I coordinator may use any or all of the categories. The only limitation is that the same categories have to be used for all schools. They may use direct certification and direct certification extended or direct certification extended only. They could use those two plus foster and migrant, or they could use all of the categories. For Title I purposes, each year you will need to provide the student count by identified student category. The economically disadvantaged percentage for Title I is the blended category count divided by membership. E-Rate is a federal communication program that provides support for web access in low-income schools. Eligibility for E-Rate is determined annually in the current year for the coming school year. The discount is applied at the district level. Schools in Year 1 of CEP will report the count of students identified as free and reduced price based on the actual meal benefit determination. Discounts remain valid for the entire 4-year cycle if ISP decreases. If the ISP increases and the district chooses to apply the new claiming percentage, the E-rate discount must be recalculated. CEP schools no longer have individual student certifications, so measuring academic achievement by socioeconomic level can no longer be done. As with schools having Provision 2 for all meals, the CEP schools are considered 100% pre-economically disadvantaged. Household income surveys here are an option with reservations and limitations. Using it defeats the purpose of paperwork reduction for households and the school nutrition program. Also, school food service funds may not be used to fund processing the surveys. If a survey is needed, we have a prototype on the CEP webpage. Here is a summary of how to use free and reduced data in other programs to demonstrate socioeconomic need. For programs needing the percentage of free and reduced price eligible, you would use the claiming percentage for free, identified student percentage times multiplier 1.6. For Title I, use the U.S. Department of Education's guidance. For E-rate, use the identified student count times the multiplier 1.6. The rate is valid for the same 4-year period as CEP. If the ISP is updated during the 4-year period, the new data would apply to E-rate the next funding year. Let's discuss the impact of CEP on local support programs through athletic fees and student fees. One of the benefits of CEP is the removal of the application processing burden for both families and schools. While this is great for nutrition services, it creates a challenge for local programs that support low-income students, such as reductions in athletic fees, student body fees, transportation, etc. To meet this need, schools may use a household income survey. There are many examples out on the web. We recommend that the survey not look like the confidential meal application. The household income survey is included in the application for the fee reduction. The income guidelines for the child nutrition programs will be used to assess the survey for consistency. Funds from the nonprofit school food service account may not be used to pay for income survey processing for CEP schools. The nutrition staff who typically make eligibility determination may do the activity in this instance, but they must be paid from a different funding source. The cost may not be used to meet the National School Lunch Program matching requirement. Household income surveys may be used for Title I and academic achievement measures as well. It is suggested, with reservations, as using it defeats the purpose of paperwork reduction offered by implementing CEP. A prototype income survey is on the CEP webpage. Now we will discuss some financial considerations. If a school does not meet the 62.5 ISP for all meals to be claimed at the free rate, CEP may still be a viable option when you consider the cost of debt collection activities, the cost of unpaid charges, printing and mailing of parent letters and applications, application processing costs, and banking costs. CEP runs in 4-year cycles. At a minimum, after April 1st in the 4th year of CEP, a new identified student percentage is determined for the next 4-year cycle. Sponsors may begin a new 4-year cycle if all eligibility criteria is met with ODE CMP approval. Sponsors and schools in Year 4 with an identified student percentage between 30 and 40% may elect for an additional year or a grace year. If the new ISP is less than 30, the school must return to standard certification, counting, and claiming procedures, or establish a base year in Provision 2 the following school year. If in Year 4 of CEP, when sponsor and schools are developing the ISP for the next 4-year cycle, and the new identified student percentage is less than 40 but greater than or equal to 30, they are permitted to use CEP for an additional year or a grace year. This is to give time to work on improving the ISP through data process or to prepare for returning to standard certification, counting, and claiming. If you have any further questions, please contact your assigned child nutrition specialist. Thank you for viewing the CEP 201 training.